Alright, what is up everybody? This video I want to talk about the new patch we just got in Universal Tower Defense. Content wise, this patch doesn't really do much, it's mostly just a bunch of changes and bug fixes, whatever. But there are a lot of buffed and reworked units, so that's kind of the focus of this video. We will check some out in game and showcase them eventually, everyone you see on my team here. But I do want to talk about the patch notes first up. And I apologize in advance if I'm bad at talking or explaining in this video. As you can see in the bottom right of my screen, it is 4 in the morning right now. Kind of woke up to this patch late at night and decided to kind of break it down. Getting into the patch notes here, first up I want to pull up the bug fixes for anybody wondering what exactly got fixed. Here are the bug fixes and you can kind of go through those on your own time if you want to pause the video or something and read everything. But the main one I noticed in the bug fixes that kind of stood out to me is Yhwach's burn used to only apply 4 burn ticks, now it applies 5. So this might actually impact his like DPS output if it kind of affects the uptime of his burn. It's kind of something to keep in mind for Yhwach today. So I don't know if we really count this as a buff, but they did fix his burn apparently having less ticks than it should. And for the rest of the update log, we also did get the night raid extraction. This kind of makes the extraction farming easier, I guess. I tried out both of them. The Spider-Man one, I'd say, is a lot easier. Kind of makes your clear times, instead of like 20 to 25 minutes, you can clear it in like 15 to 20. And then the Persona one, I couldn't really notice a difference. I don't know. It pretty much just felt like the normal game mode and then higher chance of getting Joker. So, but the night raids are kind of nice, even though it isn't really real content. But mostly I want to talk about the unit changes today because we got some huge stuff going on that I think will probably end up changing the meta quite a bit. First up, Yhwach has been nerfed. Okay, this is a big one. This is a very big change for the current meta because this was the best unit in the game, I think. So they nerfed his blue burn from, it used to be 20% damage per unit in his range, now it is a 10% damage per unit in his range, and is capped out at 300%. The cap is very noticeable. Okay, like, you might not really think so, you might not really think this cap would be noticeable, but it absolutely is. I want to say his DPS now feels like it's doing about a fifth of what it used to be doing with the lone team that I have a whole video on. But back to the patch notes, yeah, Yhwach took a pretty massive hit here from this nerf, which he is actually on the UTD optimizer, so we can go right here now. And this is kind of outdated. This is like the old numbers of when he had 20% per unit, but pretty much the highest burn damage he can do now. Whereas before, you know, before this patch, if you had 30 units in his range, he would have been doing 2.8 million DPS, and now he does like half of that, because the cap for his burn would be at 1.54. I mean, he still does a lot of DPS. I think this unit is still probably towards the top of the meta. I don't think Yhwach is going to be moved from like top 1 to top 10. I think he's still staying pretty comfortably in the top 5, especially because aside from his DPS, he does have some supporting value. So this unit is not entirely fried and done for, but he got nerfed pretty hard, okay? You can definitely feel the DPS loss this patch. And then Sinbad, small change here that's got listed in the unit changes, even though it's just a bug fix. Because this was a pretty huge bug for Sinbad, King Sailor here. If I click on the bugs in UTD Optimizer, they do have it listed here, so he used to pretty much have 2.5x his total base hit damage, which wouldn't affect the Chain Lightning, but it did make his DPS overall a lot higher than it should have been. To finally fix that bug, he should be falling back down to like number somewhere in the top 10 to 15 in DPS, probably even lower, but I don't know. And then nerfs out of the way, we can talk about the buffs now. These are looking kind of promising actually, because we've got quite a few units here listed, even some from many updates ago. We have Merciless God and Joyful Captain. I didn't really expect these guys to get any changes, but they did. So Goku Black got overall damage buffs on every path, Luffy got overall damage buffs on every path, and then the Snake Man path, which I think is the bottom one, looks like overall just got some extra damage increases. And then the Bound Man path, which I think is the top path, is now ground only, so no more hybrid on that one. Kind of unfortunate. I will hop in game and actually check these buffs out for you guys so you can see if these new units are worth using or not. First we're going to check out Joyful Captain, or Luffy. I'm going to hover over all his different upgrade paths if you haven't seen him in a minute, or don't have the unit, I don't know. We'll check out all of these here. I do have Ruler on this guy, and then a Relic set, which I can't click on in game, so I'll just have screenshots of it on screen for a second. But overall, he should be pretty strong. This used to be his best relic set. I'm going to max out the top path first, because apparently it should be the one that they made ground only. Yeah, it used to be hybrid. They made it ground only, and then you go to middle with this one, I think. That doesn't really matter if you go middle or bottom with that. Then once you max him out and put the charge to 1, he is doing like 150k DPS, so he is still really good for damage. I think you can probably feel the buffs right now. And now going for the middle path here, let's check out the Gear 5 Luffy. And we'll go like 2 top with that one. Overall, looks like the buffs did help him out a little bit. We'll go with the bottom path now. And this one should have had some changes with like the passives and stuff, like follow-up attacks. I'm not really sure what changed about this one. I don't know what he used to have with follow-up attacks, but something changed. And overall his DPS should also be higher. Even though his DPS on this form kinda sucks, it's always been like a crowd control one of just being able to hit a bunch of units at the same time. I don't know, I think the bottom path has always been the worst one, but I don't know if this really makes him like top meta, but he does feel better, I think, in my opinion. He does feel like he's usable, so pretty cool with the Luffy buffs there. And then I do have Goku Black as well, which I don't have Ruler on, unfortunately. I rolled off Ruler in my last video for testing purposes, and I don't know, I don't have many rerolls right now, so I'm not going to roll it back. So, Sacred Goku Black Showcase, here are the different paths if you forgot what exactly they do. Should hover over them real quick. And the relics I have on this guy, I'll throw these screenshots on screen just like I did with Luffy. I'll start off with the top path. This is the one that spawns in clones, and then we'll go like 2 middle. I think for Sacred, the DPS is pretty good. Maybe. We'll go with the middle path now, which, again, they do have Sacred, so you gotta keep that in mind. These are not gonna be as strong as Ruler units here. Then we'll go with like max bottom 2 top. I think this used to be the best damage one, and we have 13k DPS. It looks pretty good. I think the DPS on Goku Black's paths have always been kind of hard to account for, because he has like a lot of different debuffs and damage over time and clones and whatnot. So I don't know, the damage numbers might look pretty low, especially because I do have Sacred on him. But overall he should have been buffed. I think his damage should be higher now. Personally, I can't really notice too much of a difference. I don't think this really puts him top meta, but it's something. Now back to the patch notes. Aside from those random universal units getting buffed, we also got some buffs to the entire Persona roster. So Joker, Cranium, and Feline. All these units got buffed with their overall cost being reduced on a lot of them. Their clone companion thing spawning now on different upgrades instead of max upgrade. This one on placement for Anne, on placement 4 Feline, on upgrade 3 for Cranium. But I'll hop in game and showcase these guys just like I did with Gear 5 Luffy and Goku Black. Okay, so for the Persona units, starting off with Phantom Trickster, Joker. This guy has a Hope Bar, which now is easier to fill, and a lot of stuff changed about him. He's now cheaper on placement, more expensive on the final upgrades, and overall just does more damage. Here's like the different thresholds of the Hope Bar, by the way, so he gets really strong once you max out the Hope Bar. And also that it doesn't reset between matches, so I'm pretty sure if I sell and replace this guy, he keeps the Hope Bar. Like once you fill this up, he'll have it pretty much forever, I think. Unless his other passives have something to do with like depleting it, but I don't know. Overall, he should be a lot stronger. Here's his clone Phantom Companion on upgrade 4, and this has a lot of different extra damage and freeze, some different debuffs on it. Overall, pretty strong unit, I think, especially because of the buffs to Persona teams, so we'll see with the other Persona units how they end up doing in the future. I'll probably have to make a separate video like testing them in different game modes or whatever, but the simple showcase for now. Here are my relics on Joker, and we can go through the upgrades real quick. But the DPS is looking pretty good. We max him out, he is doing 103k DPS right there, 513k every 4.94. And keep in mind, he is a really strong support for Persona units, so aside from just being a really strong DPS unit himself, he's going to be a really good buffer. I think not only for Persona units, but also for pretty much every unit in the game with his Hope Bar, because yeah, 100% damage to allies, 150% on follow-up crit. Overall, I think this unit could be a new staple of the meta for sure, but I don't know, only time will tell. For now we have a showcase, and he looks really, really good. By the way, for Joker, his little like clone thing, I don't know why I forgot to click on this, but pretty good DPS on it. Next up, we'll check out Feline Phantom, which I have Artificer on. I'm not sure if that's really even a good trait on him. But it is a 3 placement unit, and you don't want to have Duelist because his follow-up attack has a set crit rate. Anyway though, he has a summon on a placement now, so extra little starting damage I guess. Every single placement of him can have a summon, so. Now for the actual passive changes, I think the follow-up attack used to be 100% damage, now it's 150. Might have even been lower than that, so pretty good buff there. If it were to max him out. The damage on this guy, not looking too great, but you gotta keep in mind, mostly a support with the follow-up attack part here. Anytime a Persona unit's attacking, he's going to follow-up attack with a little bit of his own damage, 150%, so I think all together this should be a really strong team now if you just run Persona units together. But I don't know, again, I need to test this more, get a proper opinion on like the team altogether. Next up we have, okay, that's kind of weird. Next up we have Anne Phantom, with the little clone spawning in on placement now as well, which this one looks kind of freaky. With Anne Phantom, they changed the burn amplification, I think. Burn damage increased to 130%. Something happened to the burn with her like clone thing. But pretty much max upgrade with Astral on her. DPS is just looking pretty good. I don't know, mostly like an okay burn unit. Just kind of here to support Persona teams in a way, but not that crazy, not that crazy. And then for Cranium, I do think Cranium actually has potential now, so I'm moving into the last Persona unit. This guy probably has potential to be meta, like even aside from just in Persona teams. You use this guy with like maybe just Joker, for example. Pretty much this guy has Electrified. He gains like a bunch of different buffs for Electrified, with one of those now being Hyper Armor. I think that is a new one. And then his Electrified damage also got increased, so that's what happened to him. And I think his clone now also appears earlier, upgrade 3. So Cranium Phantom here. This thing is just extra damage on top of his normal DPS. If we max him out, 13k every 7.64. The damage looks pretty low, but this guy does a lot of damage through indirect ways and also has to kind of ramp up to get his buff, whatever. Overall, I think this guy could be pretty crazy. You do have to use him on Persona teams to get the full effect. I think overall, you do want to use these units all together if you want the best experience, but yeah, the buffs are pretty nice. I think the Persona units feel a lot better, especially just kind of Joker on his own, can fit into a lot of teams. And by the way, for the relics I have on everyone here, I kind of forgot to show them. Here's what I have on Feline, here's what I have on Anne. Mostly just their own signature set. I thought the Spider-Man one might be better for Anne though, but I could have been wrong. And I think I already showed Joker's, but just in case I didn't, here's what he has. Yeah, overall, from that showcase, I think the Persona units are feeling a lot better. I think they're pretty strong, actually. Going back to the patch notes document one last time, for the unit changes, we have a few more. I'm not going to show these off in-game, but pretty much the Bleach units plus Simon. So, Rukia, I think they made her like a better support. Her freeze lasts 6 seconds in the confusion. Used to be like a 25% chance, now it always happens. Simon has, I think at 50% of his meter, 100% extra damage to the mech. And then his nuke does 400%, so we actually know the number on that now. It used to just not have a number. And the manual version of the mech, if you control the mech, it gets 100% more damage. So it might actually be worth using now. Overall, they made this guy quite a bit stronger. Deco Captain, this is Yoruichi, she's cheaper. Added a 4-second stun to her transformation. Not sure if that means like it stuns her or the enemies, I don't know. But either way, it shouldn't matter too much. Chain Lightning got a damage increase, and then Hand on Paw now gains plus 25% damage for each placement in range, so you don't want to run her Ruler, probably. In my opinion, out of the Bleach units, I think the Fatality got the biggest buff, because first up, his Poison Dot damage got increased to 16% damage per tick, up to 80%. That's kind of whatever, it does make his damage better, but I think after the change right here, you don't really even use this unit for his damage. This is mostly a buff to his supporting value. His domain is now a 45-second domain. It used to be like 10 or 15, I think, not even. And then it used to be, I think, a 50% damage over time buff. Now it is a 100% dot buff during the duration. So if you run him on like a burn team or a bleed team, whatever type of damage over time team, even like with Yhwach, for example, he's a lot stronger of a buffer now, so I think death dealing guy is pretty strong. And finally, very small change, not really small, like this does matter, but you know, it's a very simple change. They increased Yamamoto's domain time to 60 seconds, which I think is a pretty big increase. I don't remember exactly what it was before, but I know it used to be a pretty short domain, definitely wasn't 60 seconds, so very good change, because this is most of his damage is in his domain only. But that was all for the new patch we got, pretty simple, just some like unit changes, night raids, which don't really do too much, bug fixes. I don't know, hopefully this video kind of helped explain some stuff or showcase some units you were curious about that maybe you don't have to check out. Otherwise though, I think more important than this patch, we have something happening today, which is anime expeditions, okay? I got my hands on Early Access Plus by applying to become a content creator for the game, so I guess I'll see you guys when this timer's up in 6 hours, okay? I'm gonna go live and we'll play the game, and it should be pretty fun. This is like the next big tower defense, so I'm very excited. But anyways, let me know what you think about the UTD patch notes in the comments below. Or what you think about anime expeditions, I don't know. Either way, thank you to my channel members for making the video possible. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you in the next one. Have a great day.